Okay, I'm going to give you a little rundown of what we're going to be talking about this call, and kind of how it's going to be structured. So first of all, I am going to be talking to you guys. I want to teach you a little something and talk about the little challenge I have going on this month. And then I'm going to coach you guys. I'm going to ask you guys some questions about some things, and then I will, if there's time left in the hour, then I'll open it up to you guys to get coaching on what you need help with. So, um, that is the structure for today's call. So, um, first of all, I wanted to talk about, a little bit more about hunger cues. So I know that I've talked about that a lot, but I've talked about it from the angle a lot of uh, from like stopping when you're full. But I want to kind of take it even a step back and kind of reel it back a little bit. So I don't know if anybody here struggles with filling their hunger cues in general. I know that's been brought up in the past. But if you are somebody that struggles to even fill hunger cues in the first place, you don't feel hungry very often, then listen in, because this is really important. That's one of like the foundational pieces to actually being able to be in tune with your body and be in tune with those like physiological cues that all communicate with each other. So if you are struggling to even feel hungry, I know when it's been talked about in the past, it was due to like stress, but it can also be due to if you've dieted in the past, or if you've been used to pushing off those cues, your body starts to kind of not send them. It's like, I heard an example the other day. Like if your friend called you, or if you're trying to call your friend and they didn't answer, you would try them a few times, and when they stopped, like if they didn't respond to you, then you would stop calling them, right? Like your body kind of does that with your hunger cues. So, if that part's not in place, then all the other parts of intuitive eating and being in touch with your body, it makes it a lot harder to get there. So, if that's something that you struggle with, I have a few suggestions for you. First of all, like just practice checking in with yourself at regular intervals. So you might set a timer, you might have like alarms set at certain times of day, but learn to like really tune into your body and like, okay, maybe it's every couple of hours you have an alarm set on your phone where you ask yourself like, how am I feeling? Am I feeling hungry? What does hunger feel like to me? If you don't really like recognize that feeling anymore, then it could come as like you're feeling irritable or you're feeling lightheaded. It could kind of come in those cues as well. So now, if you're something that you can do is set like a regular time to eat. So, like a breakfast, lunch, and a dinner, start eating at regular times, and maybe have a couple of snacks planned in there as well. And that will start getting your body like used to eating on a regular schedule. And that should help get your hunger cues back. If you are still struggling with that after you've tried that for a while and you're still like not really having that sense of hunger, then check in with me and I'll give you some more tips and ideas on how to get that back. So that's the first thing. Hold on, let me check my notes. Okay. Now, with this month's challenge, I wanted to really put a focus on slowing down our eating, because that is not the easiest thing to do. So I think first of all, notice when you have meals, like what meals are you rushing through? Is it breakfast? Is it lunch, or is it dinner? Or are you rushing through snacking? Like what do you have, at what time of day do you have a hard time slowing down? And then take a look at why. So before you even start even having to change anything, maybe kind of just take a look at what's happening. For me, I noticed that when my kids are hungry and they're like whining for me to feed them, that I tend to rush through my meal. And a lot of times I'll like hurry and eat while I'm trying to feed them. And I will notice that like I didn't even like, where'd my meal go? I just quickly ate it. So slowing down and actually like focusing on those bites of food, it really, like, that alone makes a world of a difference. It takes time for your body to regulate your appetite, your satiety, and your hunger. Like there's all these mechanisms working in your body, and it's like a symphony of your nervous system, your endocrine system, your gastrointestinal system, like, and then you've got your thoughts on top of that, your like social cues. There's all these things that are happening when you're having a meal, and it takes time for your body to get those signals to your brain. So in order to actually do that, it's important to try and get more present when you eat a meal. If you catch yourself not, if you even if this is a very difficult thing for you to do, then focus on even like tell yourself the first 3 bites of this meal, I'm going to be very present. I'm going to focus on the texture. I'm going to focus on this bite. And that kind of brings you back into like being able to slow it down. So for this month, and I'm hoping that it will just create a habit that you're able to keep continuing. Pick one of those things or come up with your own. I put some ideas in the group for how you could slow down. So for me, what I'm doing myself is I'm trying to, when I have a bite, put my fork down between bites. And it's crazy how much, first of all, you'll tend to eat less food in a sitting, and it gives your body time to actually send those signals from your gut to your brain and tell you like, wait, like you feel full now. And not only that, but I feel so much more satisfied with my food when I do that. I actually like enjoy it more, and I'm not like searching afterwards as much for something more because I actually enjoyed the meal that I had. And then on top of that too, like fully chewing your food makes a big difference in how your body digests it. And so yeah, some ideas. I'll just quickly go over some of those. Like you could use a meal timer if you want. You can start off where like if you're eating your meals in 5 minutes, then try and like set a timer for 6 minutes for your next meal, and like keep adding minutes to that till you feel like, okay, that was actually like the pace I probably should eat a meal. You can do something simple like setting a utensil down, or just take a breath or take a sip of water, or maybe focus on like the conversation going on at the table for a minute. You can try and eliminate distractions. So if you are used to maybe like watching TV while you eat, or taking care of kids while you eat, or whatever it is, if you have a lot of distractions going on, then one tip I have is to bring it down to 1 sense. Like try and add 1 sense back into it, whether it is taste, like take the time to actually taste your food, or sight, look at your food, or texture, pay attention to the texture. So just kind of focus on bringing at least 1 sense into it, and that will help you bring in and like be more present with your meal. But I promise that will help with like that symphony of things happening in your body. It will help it work so much better. So, okay. Now moving on from that. Actually, does anyone have any questions? The 2 popped off.
Oh, I have a question that popped into my mind, Jam.
Yeah.
What are the best tips and tricks for, I feel like, social eating when you're not hungry, but you're just like, it's there? I
Yeah.
feel like that's one thing that I do all the time, not excessively, but
Mhm.
like what are some of your tips and tricks that you utilize when it's like a social thing?
A social thing. Okay, that one's tricky. I was thinking about that one today, from a call that I was on, but I think that if you go into it beforehand thinking about how you want it to go, that's like number one, that's going to help you. If
Mhm.
like I tend to snack a lot while I'm with people, then like recognizing that beforehand and going into it and like making a decision for how you want it to go. Number one, that's going to be the way to go. Um,
Mhm.
Secondly, at least slowing down and eating what it is that you're going to eat more slowly. Third, I think like actually asking yourself, wait, why do I tend to eat more? This is probably even more important. Like asking yourself, why do I eat more when I am in these social situations? Is it um, for fun? Is it because I think sometimes people feel like, okay, I want to fit in with this. I want to, um,
Yeah.
I know that, okay, my sister-in-law one time brought this up. She's like, I feel like when I'm with people, like, I don't want them to think like I'm eating too healthy and like then they feel bad because they're not eating healthy. Like, I know sometimes that comes into play, or maybe it's just something to do. Like, maybe if you're uncomfortable in a social situation, it can be kind of a
Mhm.
distraction or something to have in your hands, something to make you feel like you're doing something. So I think just asking yourself those questions and figuring out why it's happening, that's probably going to be number one,
Yeah,
going to actually
that
solve
makes
the
sense.
problem.
Yeah,
um,
I like that.
yeah.
I know, because I feel like I don't really ever think about it, and it's almost just like a habitual, like it's just habit. Like when you're sitting and there's stuff out, you just sit and it's just
Mhm.
habit. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think those are good questions to ask yourself. Thanks.
Yep, no problem. Okay, any other questions on any of that? Actually, I had one more thought, something I was thinking about. When you're in, and it has to do with like the social aspect too. Um, I guess this is more for you to just answer yourself in your head, but I think that when it comes to some of that like social uncomfortableness, I don't know, maybe, and it could be a whole slew of things. It could be like what my sister-in-law said, where she doesn't want other people to feel uncomfortable around her if she's not eating the same things as them, or um I don't know, whatever it is. Recognize that your fears of what other people might be thinking about you in those situations are probably just a projection of your own thoughts. And secondly, ask yourself, do I want to give my power away to that? Is it worth me giving my power away to this person when they probably don't even have any idea that they have it? You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Okay. Let me regain my thoughts for a second. Okay, something I wanted to ask you guys is, have you tried anything in the past for your fitness goals or your health goals or whatever it is, and you haven't been able to reach them, like, or you haven't been able to keep them, whatever it is? What happened? What caused you to stop? um just open that up to whoever. You've tried to reach fitness goals or health goals in the past and you either haven't kept them or you haven't been able to actually reach them. Why?
Okay, I think sometimes for me, I have a thought of like, I am just so tired.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, it seems like working out is like feels tiring and hard sometimes. So sometimes there have been, yeah, times. I feel like I've said that word a million. um where you like want that to be the first thing to go because you're like, oh, I'm just too tired, when in reality maybe there's too many things, other things on your plate that you need to eliminate or allow yourself to slow down. Does that make sense?
Uh-huh.
Like, I think it's just the overwhelm of all the things we're trying to accomplish, right? And
Yeah.
so then when you're like so tired, then you're like, oh, I don't have the energy for that. I'm just, anyways, yeah.
Okay,
That's,
so
does
for
that make
you,
sense?
it feels like exercise is kind of the habit that will go first.
Yeah, there have been times where it has for sure, because you're like, I'm so tired. I don't want to wake up to do it early, or my body probably does need the rest, or um and even though in my mind I know that exercise is what gives me energy, sometimes it's the easiest thing to let go
Yeah.
when you're
Okay.
feeling overwhelmed and tired.
So what kind of what's what leads up to that?
Um, like events or the thought, or, and I promise I'm folding laundry as I do it, but so that's why
You're
I'm
good.
not looking at you, but I'm paying
You're
attention.
good. So, okay, let's talk about like exercise. What would you be doing exercise wise specifically? Like, what is it that you want to give up exercise wise, I should say?
I think it's just like the hard workout, like that feels like, oh, that's going to be hard or tiring. Then
Okay.
you're like, I don't want to do it.
Yeah,
I'm too tired today.
I'm too tired today. Okay, so the hard workout. Now, what constitutes a hard workout for you?
I feel like anything over like 40 minutes.
Okay.
And um what else? I don't know. I'm trying to think what else.
Strength workout, hit workout, running.
Probably more hits
Okay.
or yeah, I don't know. I've never thought about that specifically.
Okay.
But then the hit ones are kind of fun sometimes. I don't know. All of them. All
All
of
of them.
them when you're just not in the mood for it.
All right, that's good. Okay, can you think of a specific time that you've kind of felt like this happened?
Yeah, well, it seems like it happens every couple weeks.
Okay. Yeah.
And I don't know if it's hormonal
Hmm.
or if it's just like you go, go, go for so many weeks. And then you just reach one where you're like, you just kind of reach burnout. Like you're doing too much or doing all the things. And then, but I do feel like there's a hormonal part of that too. Like there have been times where I feel like a 2.5 mile run or a 1 mile run, like a couple months ago, a 1 mile run felt 10 times harder than a 5 mile did one time, and it's just like when you feel like you have lead in your veins,
Yeah.
where you're like, I feel like I have, like your whole body feels heavy.
Hmm.
Um, so I feel like that happens every couple of weeks where I'm just like, I just feel worn down. And you try and do little things, but then you're just like, so I guess it's finding the balance between like, okay, where are my thoughts holding me back in that? And then where is it that like, no, I actually do need to like bring it back a little bit. My body does need some R&R.
Yeah.
Does
Okay.
that make sense?
Mhm. Let's dissect it a little bit to figure that out, give it a little bit more clarity. So when it happens, let me say every couple of weeks it kind of happens, what do you actually end up doing with your workouts after you are feeling that?
Um, I typically, it's funny because I was actually going to kind of like pose this question in the group last week and I should have just posted it. Like, what do you guys do on the weeks that you are feeling sluggish? Um, Oh, I texted my mom asking her if she was gonna hop on. Sorry, she just responded.
No, you're good.
I'm telling her it's not too late. No, hop on. Um, I typically will still do them, but it seems like they are shorter and I don't push myself as hard. 1 second, sweetie.
Okay. And
No.
do you,
Okay, go have a snack real quick. Sorry, they just walked in from outside. Okay. My carrot. Okay, go get a snack. I'm on a call for that real quick. You okay, bud? Okay, can you go out and get dad, please? Why? Because I'm on a call that I gotta finish, Kate. I love you. Sorry.
you're good. So typically you still do them, but they're shorter and you don't push yourself as hard. Okay. So do you feel like there's a problem with that?
No, not necessarily.
Okay. Now,
I
when
think in my mind it's just like, why can't I like yeah, because I most of the time I do feel good about it and I'm like, that's okay. My body is just telling me to slow down. And that's like something was better than nothing. And I still even just got a walk in there and that was great.
Mhm.
Um, but
Okay,
I think
so
oh, go ahead.
so where okay, after that then do you go back to what you were doing before, or do you feel like then you cut back some? What?
Okay. No, I feel like if you, after I give myself like a couple days of taking it a little more easy, then I get back to like, okay, I want to push myself today. Like, yeah, and I get motivated and pumped up about it.
Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, so tell me where you think it's a problem. Where's the problem for you?
I don't think it's a big problem right now. I
Mhm.
think that's just what has happened in the past when you pose the original question of when like things that have stopped you in the past. I think in the past sometimes I wasn't as good about I would just fall in more into that cycle and like not bring myself back up into my normal like what I would want.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so
um
where do you
yeah.
think that what do you think the difference is now? Where you go back to it versus last time, maybe when you'd feel like that, then that causes you to taper off.
I think it's more of a habit now.
Okay.
And I know, and I've like told myself, like, no, you are like so good at being consistent. So you just got to keep going. Like, there are hard days, but that's okay. And it always pays off. Um, versus, wait, did that answer your question?
Yeah.
Sorry, I lost my train
Mhm.
of thought.
Yep. Okay,
Um,
so
yeah.
I love this. So it all really like kind of comes down to that thought that you've created in your head. Like I've told myself, no, you're good at being consistent. There's hard days, but it pays off. Like that gets you to just kind of hop back on and keep going. So I think
Yeah.
that like really it does it comes down to the little thoughts like that that ends up making all the difference in like what you end up doing. Now if you are feeling like what it is that you're doing, like if that is causing burnout, if it's causing too much, if you feel like it's too much all at once or whatever it is, then maybe take a look at there's several different things you can take a look at. One, you can look at like, well, what is my workout schedule like? Do I need to adjust anything in there? Two, am I getting enough food to fuel my workouts and actually recover? Am I getting enough sleep and recovery to actually like so my body is repairing itself before my next workout? Um, So, or another one, like, do I need to schedule a day in my week that is kind of a recoup day? And I just know that like on Thursdays or whatever it is, like that day I'm planning on, go for walks, I'll do yoga, I'll do stretching. It's more of like a active recovery type of day. Like, I don't know, you can kind of take a look at those physical things to see like, is my body trying to tell me that I need a little bit more of that? And I think that it sounds like you're pretty good at actually like listening to like, yeah, I do feel like my body needs more rest today. I think that recovery is a big part of it. Without the recovery part, we actually don't build muscle. You know, we don't actually
Right.
improve without recovery if we just
Ow.
our bodies all the time. So yeah. Okay, thanks Morgan
Sweet.
for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay,
Thank
does
you.
anyone else have an example of times in the past where you have worked towards your fitness goals and or your health goals and you feel like you have either not gotten there or you've maybe kind of gotten there but then you weren't able to stay there? Does anyone have any situations like that? Any examples? Emmeline?
I'll go if nobody else wants to. I just feel like I talk a lot on these calls. So
That's
if
great.
anybody else wants to go, I was thinking about this as Morgan was talking. With the exercise for me, it's not so much consistency as learning that I don't have to do an hour or more every day. I can do what I just want to do that day that feels good, and one day can be a little easier than the next, or you know what I mean? There's a balance there, because if you think you have to crank out an hour and a half every day, that's just overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And then so that's with the exercise. And then with the diet, I have lost 20-30 pounds before, and you think, oh great, I'm where I want to be, I'm fitting in the clothes I want to wear, I'm feeling good. And then you just, like we've said before, I kind of go back to those old habits and haven't made it a lifestyle change.
Mm-hmm.
And you said you can't rule out foods. You should be able to eat whatever you want, but my problem's probably the portion control on that then.
Okay. So it's
Whoa.
portion afterwards that you feel like you have.
Probably, yeah.
Okay, so do you do you feel like you have still some of that like wanting to rule out foods or a tendency to yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. And so when you do, you kind of binge when you actually do eat it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So now in the past, when that has happened, when you have lost the 20 to 30 pounds, now I know you've mentioned that then you'll start kind of eating some things like maybe at some social things, right? I feel like that's what you'd said. And
Yes.
you start then like incorporating more and more of those foods that you maybe couldn't eat before. So I want to ask you like this time around, how is it going to be different for you? Like how's this process going to be different? Because if you do go into those same tendencies and the same things that you did the other times to lose that 20 to 30 pounds, most likely it's going to do the same process over again. So, do you find yourself going back to some of those like, oh, I do want to lose this like 20 to 30 pounds faster, or I want to do it like it worked these times before, so I'm just going to go this way. And then I'll do something different to make it actually stay on. I don't know. Walk me through your thoughts that way.
I'm still trying to figure out that maintenance part of it as I lose this weight, but I'm kind of a structure person. I like rules and regulations and things. So you tell me if this is wrong, but if I just monitor it and I'm conscious as far as like using MyFitnessPal, because my maintenance calories, they're about, it tells me I'm about 1,500 calories a day.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if I can just eat what I want, but stay within that, that window, so I don't go over and beyond with my portions. What do you think about that? Because I think that structure makes me feel safe and better about things.
Yeah. I think that it depends on how if you do you feel like it's repeating the same thing that happened the last times you've done it?
No, I haven't even been very good with the Fitness Pal, so that would be a new thing.
Okay. Okay, tell me the differences between last time when you lost the weight to this time, like the process. Yeah, what's the differences between like how you're eating or what you're doing?
The biggest thing is different wise is exercise. Before I would like kill myself exercising, and I feel like I pushed myself where to the point where it wasn't enjoyable. And anytime I did it, it was kind of just that major chore. And this time around I'm thinking, no, I don't have to do that. I can still lose weight by exercising and doing things I enjoy and not doing it for too long.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest difference, finding that moderation and just not that all or nothing mentality type
Yeah.
thing.
Okay, so will you repeat that? You said like with this time with exercise, you said, okay, no, I don't have to do that. I can still lose weight and not have to work out for an hour. Is that what you said?
Yeah, just I can still lose weight by doing the things I enjoy and doing it in a time frame that works for me, and not to the point where I hate it.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry, hold on just a second. Okay. So now can you apply do you think that same thinking is happening with your food? Like, no, I don't have to do that. I can still lose weight by doing it in a way that I enjoy and doing it in a time frame that works for me and not to the point that I hate it. Does that apply to the
That's
food?
harder.
That's
That's
hard.
harder for me to let go of.
Okay. How come?
It's harder for me to let go of, because before, when I've lost the weight, I knew how to do it and it worked. So I just kind of fall back into those old patterns because I'm like, well, I know this works if it ain't broken, but it is very structured and it's very strict. I know exactly what I'm going to eat for breakfast, exactly what I'm going to eat for lunch and dinner every day. But, when you get to maintenance, you don't want to keep doing that.
Yeah. Okay, well, let me ask you, like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But did that work? Did it work for you in the past? Short term.
Short term. Yeah.
So did it work?
Yes, I lost 20, 30 pounds doing that. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But did it work?
Did it really work forever?
Yeah.
No. No, it didn't.
Okay.
No.
I think what you said for exercise like perfectly applies to the food part. If you can get your brain to go into that mentality with the food part. Like, I don't have to cut out all those foods. Maybe it's like, I don't have to work out for an hour. Maybe it's, I don't have to cut out all those foods. I can still lose weight by eating things I enjoy and doing it in a time frame that works for me. So, or by doing it in maybe a longer time frame for that one versus like shorter. Maybe it's, I can do this in a longer time frame and actually like lose this weight for good. And I don't have to do this to a point that I hate it. Because then that's every time what leads you to eating, starting bringing back those foods, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. I was hoping it was more just like the portions and just not monitoring it,
Yeah.
because I can go out to eat now and I'm going to do that and I'm going to eat as much as I want. And
Mm-hmm.
you're just eating tons of calories and you are always going to underestimate what you're actually eating.
Yeah. Okay, so portions, if it comes down to portions and monitoring it. So Do you feel like what you're doing right now with portions feels comfortable, like it's something that you could continuously do?
I do. I do. But also knowing that I can have a cookie occasionally, but it's in my calorie budget.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So
Mhm.
I can have my sweets that I enjoy. I have major sweet tooth, but it all goes into the pot too. And if I know if I eat too much candy, what am I going to eat the rest of the day? You know?
Uh-huh.
So
Okay. So for you, do you feel like that that calorie monitoring feels like it gives you like freedom and peace? Or does it feel
yeah,
like
I guess that I just don't want to let go of that control. I like that control over it.
yeah, no, that's totally fine. I think that for some people, counting calories is feels like it's controlling them and it feels restrictive and it's not a good positive thing. And then for other people, it feels like actually freeing and it feels like no, I can eat what I want to within this range. Like then I feel good. I feel like I don't know, and then it's more peaceful. So if it's on that side of the spectrum, then I'd say that's totally fine. Like that's
Mhm.
if counting calories isn't a big deal to you and it feels good, then great, go for it. There's a lot of great benefits to that. Obviously, you can dial things in a lot more when you're doing that. I think it's just that like I said, going back to that same thought that you applied to exercise, if you're able to figure out a way to apply that to your food, then I think you're going to be golden in being able to keep it is what you've got going now and actually keep the weight off. I think that's going to be the difference in keeping it off versus like then needing to go back to things because then it's like when this is over, it's not like it's over, it's just what it is. Like it's a lifestyle, this is what you do now, that you don't have to like dabble back into it because you never left it. It wasn't something that you couldn't do. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
It was just a part of the process. You were able to have a treat here and there, like that was included in it.
Mhm.
Yeah. Any other thoughts that way or comments?
I don't think so.
Okay. How do you what are you thinking? What do you feel how do you feel about that?
Oh, my brain's going. Oh, just thinking I want to enjoy life, and have it be that lifestyle change. And um, because it's hard to always, I can't eat that. I'm on a diet. I'm on a diet. I'm on a diet. You get so sick of telling people that. Like even this Sunday, my mother-in-law's like, well, let's celebrate your birthday belated. What kind of dessert do you want? And I'm like, fruit, have fruit, like,
Mhm.
and it just, sometimes you want to say, well, no, I want that cake. I want that, but just knowing when to not do it too, just finding that balance.
Mhm. Do you know how to do that? Do you have any hesitation in how to do that?
Well, now I weigh myself daily. Um, and I know that weight fluctuates. I know that water weight and everything else, just because you're a pound up or a pound down, doesn't mean that's necessarily because you've gained weight or lost it. It's more, you need to look at the long term picture on that.
Mhm.
But for me, if I'm like 4 or 5 pounds up, I'm like, whoa, I overdid it.
Mhm.
So I think that will help monitor that better too.
Yeah. Um, okay. Do you trust yourself to be able to um find a balance in it and um that when you do lose your weight that you want to lose, do you trust that you can, like I said, find that balance and know how to like navigate it at that point? Or do you have hesitation or fears there or anything?
Well, I hope I can open myself up to be okay with, I had this magic number in my head of like, when I reach this number on the scale, they'll be perfect. It's never always going to be that number, right? You're always going to fluctuate a little bit. So just keeping kind of, don't think about that one number, but this is the range you're going to stay in. This is the range that you promised yourself that you would not go above or below.
Mhm. Okay. So,
Am I being too structured? I like structure.
no, you're good. You're good. I think that whatever you feel like I said, our brains all work differently, and what works for one person is not going to work for the next person. Like I said, if you feel like structure helps you and that it's structure, here's the thing, it needs to be structure that can continue, it has to be a structure that you don't feel like you need to jump from. Because if it feels like structure that you want to jump from, then let's adjust the structure. You could still have structure, but adjust it to something that's like, no, I feel good in this. Like I enjoy this. I have enough energy in this. This is something I could keep doing, because without that, then it's not, I don't know. Then it's gonna, like I said, it's gonna repeat, but it won't repeat if you actually change the process, or that you change, honestly, like your thoughts behind all of it. Like that's going to change the results, and that's going to change how that ends up going. So yeah, hopefully that helps.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
I think so.
All right, thanks, Emmeline. Okay, now I want everyone to each like really think about that for themselves. Like, what in the past, if you've already tried to lose weight, gain muscle, get more healthy, or whatever your personal goal is for yourself, if you've ever tried to do that in the past and you haven't gotten there, or you haven't stuck with it, or you haven't been able to maintain it, if you're doing the same actions now, then it's going to repeat. If you're having the same thoughts, if you actually bring it back down to the thoughts, if you have the same thoughts that are driving all of those actions that you're doing now, then it's probably going to repeat. It's 99% sure it's going to repeat. So take a look at that. That's very important. That's like vital to actually changing it and having this be something that changes. So, and actually makes a difference for you. So I think sometimes some of the feelings that people will kind of jump from and it causes them to stop is the feeling of overwhelm. So if you sense that you are feeling overwhelmed, then look at why. Like, are you adding on too much at once? What thoughts are causing you to feel overwhelmed? Can you take a look at those thoughts? Are there different thoughts that you could be thinking that could cause a different feeling? You could, just kind of dissect that for yourself and figure out like, okay, what can I do differently this time? Like with that overwhelm example, like if say you jumped into this and now you're exercising 5 or 6 times a week, and now you're eating really healthy, most of your meals, if you're feeling like things are too rigid and you get to like, if you're feeling overwhelmed by that, it's not something you want to keep up, then take a look at like, well, am I balancing out in my week actually? Like, am I getting enough recovery? Am I having workouts that I enjoy? Am I doing or going through a process right now that's something that I want to continue, or does it feel like it's too much? If it feels like too much, if it feels like it's something you want to jump ship from, excuse me, then take a step back and figure out a smaller step to that next thing. Like maybe you do want to establish all these habits, the habits and things that I have in place in this program. If it feels like too much at once, you can take it slower, write them down. And then after you get one habit down and figured out, maybe it's like, okay, maybe it was the affirmations thing. Maybe that's something that you want to incorporate and do on a regular basis. maybe just break it down to something really small. Like I will give myself one affirmation 3 days a week or whatever it is. Like you can break down all of these habits into something that's so small and so doable, and then build from there. So if it felt like too much, don't worry, you don't have to establish everything that I've given you throughout this program all at once. It can take longer than this 6-month period that we're in, okay? Go on your timeline. Just the important thing I think is progressing and establishing those habits. And then once you're feeling pretty good, like it's okay to get a little bit uncomfortable. I think feeling uncomfortable is a great thing. So accept that like some of this is going to feel uncomfortable, but there's a difference. There's a line between uncomfortable and like, this is too much. I can't handle this anymore. I'm going to give up. So find where that balance is that pushes you just a little bit so you can keep making progress, because that feels so good. It feels so good to push through that uncomfortableness. And yeah, so just going back to like figure out what it was that caused you to stop before, what thoughts you were having that caused you to stop, what actions were you taking, and then figure out what can I do differently this time and not repeat to make that same thing happen. So, okay, I'm going to switch gears. Does anyone have any questions first though, or comments on any of that we've gone over? Okay, we have about 15 more minutes. I'm going to open it up now to just what do you need help with coaching wise? What are you guys struggling with? What do you want help with? Where can I help you? Give you a second to think about it.
I had one thought, like I'm someone that needs a lot of validation. So like I think it would be really positive if whatever our win is that we post that more in the
Yes.
group.
Yeah.
I think that would help. I mean, even it's like, oh, I've lost those first 5 pounds, or I fit in this dress I haven't worn for 3 years, or whatever, or I'm able to do a pull up or whatever it is.
Yeah. I love that.
I think if we act more like a group and validate, that might be helpful.
I love that. Post more wins. I think that's a really good idea. I like that idea, Emmeline. Okay, I will do that too. So I hope you guys will all join in. Okay, good idea. Okay, does anyone have, I'm gonna keep that open. Like if you do you have anyone want to say, like, do you have anything that you feel like you're struggling with or need help coaching on? If not, I've got more stuff I could just go on teaching you and keep talking your ear off, but I want to make sure that I leave time for you to ask questions.
Okay, mine's not a question and or necessarily something that maybe I need coaching on, maybe I don't know. 2 thoughts I had that I'd love to pick people's brains about are how you get yourself out of comparison traps. Like whether it be not only to other people, but like your past self or like things that does that make sense?
Yep.
And then the accountability thing too, like, and maybe I need to be more in tune or mindful with my thoughts, but it's so funny because I was having the hardest time getting up in the morning until I recruited someone in the neighborhood and like had her be my running buddy or whatever. And then I was like, oh, I've got to get up. I told Janae I would be there. So it's like, why can't we and well, I'm speaking for myself, even though I'm saying we, but like, show up for ourselves. It's just funny how, I don't know, maybe that's something I need to work on, is like when I make a commitment to myself, I show up because I told me I would be there, not
Mhm.
because I told my neighbor I would be there. And then I think there are little times where I compare to like, oh, like my, and mine's all like post baby related with like comparing to my past self versus now or whatever. But I don't know. Raise your hand if anybody else struggles with comparing to other people or yourself or need accountability help.
Mhm.
So those are thoughts that I've had. I don't know if I need coaching on them or just something we could chat about as a group, but those are thoughts I had today.
I think we all have some of that. I think that's great. I think especially comparing to our past selves. That's a harder one to get past sometimes. Yeah, I like that. Does anyone have any thoughts on those things? Comparing yourself to your past self or to other people, and then giving yourself accountability, like having accountability for yourself or with yourself, like the same accountability as you would with a friend.
I have just a little thought on that. Sorry, I don't have the video on.
Yeah.
One thing that I think, as far as comparing yourself to your past self, is it's kind of like we're never the same person from day to day. You know what I mean? We age, first of all, unfortunately. Our experiences, our stress levels, all of those things are changing. It's like this fluid. And I think that we need to give ourselves permission to be different than we were and not have to be what we were. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. I love
It's
that.
hard,
Mhm.
but
Okay, how do you do that for yourself?
that's the question, right? I mean, because we all get in that trap.
Mhm.
I mean, I think part of that is even in the affirmations, right? I mean, I think, and when you're comparing, same thing, whether you're comparing your past self or to somebody else. I mean, we all have heard that saying, comparison is a thief of joy, right? I think I have found more joy in today's me, if that's the way to word it, but by affirmations and by also just the meditation and learning to be present now
I love
with
that.
what's going on.
I love that so much.
Oh, Mom, when you said, okay, comparison is the thief of joy. I
Joy.
remember
Mhm.
at one of the conferences I went to, a girl talked about how she said comparison is the thief of connection, which I just had the thought come to my mind, like, okay, when we are comparing, are we connected to our present self and or the whatever, and like where we're at and our body where we're at
That is
now. So
perfect.
I
Yes.
love that too. Or it's like when you're comparing to, I mean, that can go in any part of life, but yeah, I was like, oh, maybe when I'm comparing to my past self, it's because I'm not connected to my current, I don't know. Maybe there's
Yeah.
a break there somewhere.
And there's also a way to say I can connect to my past self, because that person has helped me to become who I am today. It may not be the body that's the same, but the lessons, the wisdom, all of that kind of stuff, are important to take forward. And I like that. I love the connection part to people and ourselves for sure. Good one.
These are good. I love it. You guys are golden. I love those ideas. I like that idea of kind of like, yes, you're connected to your past self, but also it's not you right now. It's not like, you can be grateful for your past self for leading you to who you are today, but like recognizing that like I am today, I'm a different person than I was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, all of that.
Yeah.
Sorry, one thing with that, I think a big part of that old self and new self is probably what you're admiring about your old self are the goals that you were meeting and the things that you were accomplishing. If your current self is making goals and still trying to always reach that next tier,
Mhm.
then don't you think we'll feel better about ourselves if we're not just kind of stagnant?
Yeah. I like that. I think for me, I noticed that when I am feeling stagnant, like I'm not really working on myself, that's when I notice a lot of some of that, like that comparison come in, or maybe some like anxiety or like depressing feelings. Like when I'm feeling stagnant, I feel like for me, the best way out of that is to try and progress in some way. Doesn't really matter what way. If I just feel like I'm progressing in some way, spiritually, physically, mentally, learning something, like, I don't know, that gets me out of it faster than a lot of different things too. I like that.
Yeah, I think it's a good point, because also if we're stagnant, I think that it's kind of proving that we're not connecting to, right, any part, because it's like, oh, we're not even connected to know that we're not progressing, or we're not doing what we're supposed to do. So it's being, kind of doing that inner work and looking to see, okay, what is holding me back? Is it that I'm just stagnant and I'm disconnecting from myself or from a lot of things,
Mhm.
and it's all work. It takes work, but it's all worth it.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for your thoughts. Okay, really quick, I want to hear, what are your guys' wins? What are some wins from this last little bit?
I'd say our problems actually went away.
Oh, I didn't know I was putting my video on. I'm actually down 8 pounds. There's my win.
Nice.
Woohoo!
That's a big
So,
win.
yeah.
Awesome. What do you feel like, what habits have changed that's caused that?
Increasing the exercise for sure, and not just the time, just the frequency. So being more consistent, for sure, and then being more mindful of the nutrition aspect of my foods. Like I do sometimes struggle with getting enough food in, which is not good, but I am trying to really concentrate on the quality of it. So the dense nutrition.
Love that.
And maybe it's just mindset, saying, letting go of the stress. I don't know. It's, combination of things for sure.
Awesome. Oh, good job, Marcy. That's amazing. That probably feels so good.
Thank you.
Okay, what are some more wins? Actually, Marcy, really quick, that I know that you'd mentioned before specifically about like your hunger cues and you having a hard time like eating enough, and I talked about that earlier in this call. So
Okay, I'll go back and listen to it for sure.
I have some tips in there of how to kind of get some of that more in check.
Okay, good. Good. Yeah, sorry I was late.
No, you're good.
We
Don't
have a
worry.
new-
I love
we
that
have
you're
a
here.
happy-
I'm just happy you're here.
Thanks. Thanks.
Yeah. Wins for anybody else? I ran 8 miles today. That's the first time I've done that in like
Oof,
since college. So that's a win.
oof, that's awesome.
And
My
Morgan
win
helped
is
me do
running
that.
farther than I ever have also.
I
And
love
my
it.
goal is 8 miles on Saturday, so hold me to it.
I will. I'll text you and
Um,
ask you if you did it.
And what else? And more early mornings. I'm slowly getting back to my morning routine that I've wanted so bad after waking up with babies for a year. So we're getting there. Surely.
You're starting to get to that stage of life where it's more,
It's a
you're
little
able
more
to-
feasible.
yes. I love that. That's great.
Yeah. Mhm.
I'm excited to hear from you on Saturday. How your run went. Anyone else wins?
No.
Like my past self was really good at working out and exercising and all that. And I'm pretty good now, not like I used to be, but I used to marathon run, 10 years ago. And now I don't have that goal of ever running a marathon again, but I'm okay with that. Like my goal now is training to do a 5K in the spring with one of my best friends, or learning how to do new type of dance, or those types of things. Just having those new goals like we had talked about before, not trying to do what you did in the past, but like what can you do now
Yeah.
that is feasible and makes you feel good.
Yeah. I like that. So you have a goal to run a 5K and learn a new type of dance. That's fun. That's really cool that you're doing that now. I think that sometimes you think that, that now it's harder or whatever it is. And so I think it's cool that you're doing that. Well, great. Okay. One last little plug. Well, actually, I think I'm going to talk about this next time because I want to give more time to it. Does anyone have any last comments, thoughts, or questions? Nope. Okay. This is great. Thank you guys for coming. I really loved some of those last thoughts, Marcy and Morgan, that comparison is the thief of connection, connecting to yourself, being grateful for your past self, but being like kind of getting out of that comparison trap. Oh, I wanted to hurry and respond to that accountability thing. Sorry, really quick. That Morgan had said, like when you are accountable to your friends, when you find yourself doing that, actually maybe do this. This would be a good practice. So think about like if I were to tell my friend that I'm going to do XYZ with them, go on a run or go to the gym or whatever it is. Now, imagine what thoughts you're going to have that will get you to actually follow through with that friend. Is it like, I don't want to let them down, or I told them I would, so I'm going to? Figure out what those thoughts are. Like take an actual like couple of minutes to think about that. And then write them down first. And then take a look at those thoughts and realize like, okay, what if I was that person? Like, I don't want to let them down. Like, you don't want to let yourself down. Like, apply those same thoughts to yourself because you're just as important. Actually, like you for yourself, like you're the most important for yourself. Like you can't do anything without yourself, right? So think about yourself that way and start seeing yourself as like you're gonna have your own back. You're gonna be that friend to yourself. And those thoughts that you'd have towards your friend, kind of implant them to yourself, say them to yourself. And yeah, if that worked for a friend, then it could drive the same actions for yourself. Especially if you get used to doing it. The more you start following through with those things for you, and when you tell yourself you're going to do something, actually follow through with it, then the more you're going to gain that confidence in yourself and that like build trust within yourself, and that's going to get you very far. So all right, thank you ladies. I love you all, appreciate you all. Reach out if you have any questions, suggestions, feedback. Any of the above. Okay, thanks.